So welcome back, everyone. So after 2 or 3 days of rain and snow and miserable weather on the homestead, we have a beautiful sunny day. It's kind of the eye of the storm. We're supposed to have rain and fog and misery the rest of the week, which will bring us back into the shop. But today, we're out with the Sawmill. So I was thinking yesterday, I've really been smarting over how much my local lumberyard charged me for that clear vertical grain fir. It's just ridiculously expensive, and I've had a lot of comments about why are you buying lumber when you have the sawmill and you've got all your own woodlot and all those, why are you paying someone else to cut lumber for you? The reason why is if you're going to build something, you need to have wood that's completely dry. And I don't have wood that's dry. I can go and cut stuff and I can use it, but it takes, for wood to dry, it's an inch a year. And that's if you don't kiln dry it. It takes a long time. So it's something, it's kind of like being a vintner. You have to let your wine age. You can make it, put all the work into it, but it takes a long time before it's ready to be used. So I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to pay local lumber yards for stuff that I can cut myself, but I need to have a little bit of organization and some structure. It just dawned on me last night when I was thinking about that expensive fir that when I purchased this deck of logs over here, the guy that I bought them from said, you know what, there's a really expensive log in there, and we just didn't have time to pull it out. It accidentally got mixed in. He says it's Douglas fir. He says it's CVG. He says perfect. A log like that is expensive. A log like, if I can find that log, and I think I may have, we'll go over here in a minute and look at it, that log is worth more than what I paid for the whole deck of everything. So I thought today might be fun. We'll do milling today with the Lucas mill, or behind me. Let's see if we can go over there and find that log and put it up on the sleepers and peel it open and see what we have. So the log jack breaks down into, there was two piles. There's the short ones there, the 25 footers or so. Then there's the ones that go up to 40 here. And if our memory serves, he said it was one of these longer ones. And I'm just looking through here. Clear vertical grain Douglas fir is going to have 0 limbs in it. It's going to need to be perfectly straight. This one here, this is a ponderosa. I didn't even know I had any. There's a ponderosa there too. I didn't even know I had any ponderosa in there. Look at that one there. Isn't that right there is a saw log. That's timber framing material right there. I'll maybe mix in 3 species with our little project. There is there's some nice stuff in here. But I think this is it. This is the only one that has a B on it. It's got a B. I don't have any idea what their labeling system means, but I got to looking at this thing, and it is, I can't find a limb on it. It is straight. Look at that. Not a knot, not a limb. As far as there's one limb right there, tiny one. Look at that one. Do you think that's it? That could be the one. So it's not super big, but it's very long. It's a 40-footer. I think we should pull it down off of here, get it cribbed up, and take a peek inside and see if this is our little gold mine here. right, friends, I have a good feeling about this. This is a beautiful looking log. This is exciting. This is kind of like prospecting. You know, you never know when you're going to roll over a rock and find a big old gold nugget. This was very unexpected here. So there's enough wood in here to do projects for me for a long time. What we're going to do is we'll start with we'll do a 10-foot length. We'll just start with a 10-footer. That's will cover about anything I need to do. And what we can do is we'll take off the top, make the first cut, and see what it looks like. And then from there we can kind of determine what we want. For most, for most of the things I'm going to use, I'm going to want between 3/4 and 1/2 inch thickness of boards. Now, this is going to have to be cribbed up or stickered up in the shop and have to sit in here for, you know, a couple of years, year or two, before I can use it. And in that time, it's going to bend and twist and check a little bit. And if I mill it at a full inch, maybe even 1 1/8 inches, then when we're ready to use it, we can re-mill it, and after it's done all its movement, it'll be stable. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So let's fire up the saw, and we'll cut a 10-footer out of here. We'll take it over to the mill, and then we'll run it off and see what it does. Before I do that, I did have a little window the other day, and I got to mill some really big timbers over here, and I found a gem. So I still got the remnants up here on the sleepers. This log was really a nice surprise. It was rejected by the mill because it had lots of knots and different things in it, but it turned out to be an extraordinarily beautiful log, and I got a lot of really great stuff out of it. For one, look at the 6x6 timber. Can you see the colors in it? Oh, the light is so bad. I'm so sorry. Maybe here. Look at the black and the red. That's Douglas fir right there. Is that not just beautiful? That's really, really unique. That's a nice full dimension 6x6 there. I got that out of there and more. And so I got all of these full dimension. These are out of a couple different logs. I got all these 2x6s, full dimension, and a 2x4. And then I milled all of these, and then here's more of those. These are 4x6s out of that beautiful one right there. Even though it does have a lot of knots in it, I think it's just gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I grabbed one that I thought was a Doug fir. That's a white fir. You can see how much wider that is. It's hard to tell sometimes. But I got 10-footers, 12-footers, 8-footers. I got a whole bunch of 4x4s, full dimension here. I got some 2x12s, or 2x8s and 2x12s out of there. And I spent half a day just getting my whole system organized, so I could be efficient with cutting. It's kind of a learning curve. I even got some long ones here. I got some long 2x4s here. These are 14-footers. But what I ended up doing is you generate a lot of scrap from the ends, things milling, that you can't cut. And instead of moving them all the time, so what I do is I take the Yanmar, the forks, and I put them right over there. And so when I'm milling, I don't have to step too much. And so I just grab those ends, and then I put them in there, and that way I can take them up. And I've been taking them, putting them up on the firewood processor and cutting them up from the firewood. So that's worked out really good. And then since I'm working by myself here, I cut, and then I bring my timbers and my boards off of here and here. And I've been cutting 1-bys. 1-bys up there for the little leftover remaining things. It'll be really good for siding. So it's been quite a learning curve, but it's really been fun. So as I'm loading these up, I'm picking through the logs, and then when I find one that it's suitable for a saw log, something special, then I bring it over here and store it. I stage it right here. So these are all the ones that I want to cut. I can kind of have it takes a pretty big area to have all this stuff set up. I brought my toolbox out here so I can keep all my stuff in there without it getting all wet. But this has been really fun. I've really enjoyed learning how to do all of this. So before we can cut our fancy one over there, we got to move these out here. So let's get these out and stacked up, and then we'll put it up there, and we'll actually be doing some milling today. this might be the one. It sure looks good. I can't wait to get it open. So a lot of you guys wanted me to talk about sawmilling, and I'm not sure, do you want to just watch sawmilling, or do you want me to kind of explain to you how and I gotta preface this, I'm a total beginner, but I've been cutting some stuff and I've learned a few things. There's always a lot of argument back and forth in the comments about which is the better sawmill. This is a Lucas mill made in Australia. This is a circular saw. It's got a big blade. It will cut up to 10 inches, 10 by 10. If with a little trickery, you can cut a 10 by 20. And the nice thing about the Lucas, the number one thing for me is, one, it's super portable, it's super robust and very simple, and I can sharpen it myself. I just sharpened it the other day, 3 days ago for the first time. It took me 5 minutes. 5 minutes to sharpen it. It was very simple. It's idiot proof. It's just wonderful. That's a big problem with the bandsaw mills. And I know there's some people that's even made video responses about this. Oh, I can sharpen my own bandsaws. Most guys can't. I know a lot of guys with Wood-Misers bandsaw mills, and I don't know anyone that can sharpen them themselves. It's expensive, and you go through a lot of them. And when you're out here like I am in the mud, and you're dragging your logs around, and they pick up grit and grime and all of that stuff, becomes a huge problem, a huge expense. So I don't like that. Which one's better? I mean, the argument's always made, well, the bandsaws are better for production. Yeah, that's debatable too. You know, I've seen lots of videos and some challenges where they went head to head with these saws against the other ones. And you know, I'm not going to say that one is definitively better than the other. They're just different. They're different, and for my purposes and what I have here, with the potential of getting some huge wood, if I got a huge black walnut or a fir or a ponderosa pine that was 6 feet, 7 feet across there, I can mill that here. I can mill anything that will fit in between these rails, which is huge, you know, huge. So, you know, and that's something you can't do with a bandsaw mill. You're limited by the carriage. So I don't think that there is a definitive answer. I think that Wood-Misers are fantastic mills. The Lucas mills are fantastic mills. It's just about application and what you really want. So I'm not going to do an instructional video, but just kind of pay attention, and you'll kind of see the process here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to center the blade over right over the center of the log on both ends here. So I'll just kind of I'm a little bit low. I gotta and so maybe you can see right there, we need to come over a little bit. So I'll just move these chocks. What I did, these chocks, they fit too tight, and so they wouldn't fit over 2x4, so I just took my skill saw and just ripped 1/8 of an inch off, and that sorted that out. So now we just need to, that looks like it's pretty close. Same right there. That actually looks really good. I'm going to drop it a little bit. Want that to just be kind of just skimming along the top, and then we'll double check that we're on the center. So you can see this log's kind of just a little bit oval shaped. So I'll move this over just a little bit. Don't need much. If this is as good a log as I'm hoping it is, we want to be sure and not waste anything. So I went a little too far there. And a lot of this is my inexperience. I'm just learning here. What do you think? How's that? That looks really good there, doesn't it? We'll double check this side over here. I could come over just a tiny bit. And I'm going to call that good. I don't know what happened there. I don't know how that happened. But anyway, so that's why you do that. You make your first cut there to see if you're centered. And not only that, are you deep enough? Because the log, you know, it's if we look across the plane there, you know, it's got a big, it's higher here. So we want to make sure that we have our first cut set deep enough. See, we're not even touching there. We didn't even get in there. We're just skimming the bark. So all the way across here. So we're doing two things. We're checking our depth and are we centered? Are we centered on that log where we want to be? And we are. So what that tells us is we need to go down a little bit. So we'll drop it, we'll run it one more time, and then we'll do our first horizontal cut. This deal for dropping the saw blade is just so simple and clever. You got a measurement here that's got on a magnet. So this goes up and down. I guess it's on a magnet. It's clamped on there. And then this here, you just pinch it and slide it up and down. So when we start here, if I want to drop it 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 inch, we'll say 1/2 inch or so, I go down here to 1/2 inch right there, and both sides are dropped. And then just repeat the same thing over here. What I like about it is you can do it from inside the rails. You don't have to walk around. That's really handy. Now our second cut, that's the correct depth. We can see that we're down in there 1/4 inch or so. We're in the wood. So here's the beauty of the saw. So you don't have to roll the log between cuts. You change the angle of the blade and you cut on both passes. That was what makes it so fast and efficient here. And to change the blade, you simply pull this lever here and the whole blade comes down, and now it's horizontal. We hit the jackpot here. This is a beautiful log, isn't that nice? It's not clear, it's got some knots in it. Got a couple knots in it, but look at the grains. How the different color. The red is, and this is my favorite. I love it when there's that transition between that, well, that's bright, between the light and the red color. When you put a finish on there, it just comes out. It's just so pretty. This is great. So I'm cutting 1x4s. 1x4s here, a full 1 inch, and so these can sit and kiln dry over the year. We'll sticker those up in there, and we'll paint some wax on the ends so they don't check, and these will be ready for doing nice projects. You know, this is exactly the same stuff that I just paid all that money for, and we have a whole log of it. And I'm sure that there's more in the pile. You know, little sections. So I'm always watching for it. But isn't that pretty? That's really something to see that. The knots are okay. The knots are not good if you're going to be using this for, you need long boards, long runs for trim, door casings and such. But for me, I just need stuff. Usually it's, you know, a foot, 2-3 feet long, and we have all that wood in between the knots. And that doesn't bother me a bit. But isn't that pretty? That is a nice surprise. All right, well, I'm going to keep milling here. I'll let the camera roll. Okay, so we're about 2/3 of the way through the log here, and it seems to me we need to make a decision. Now, I do not know what I'm talking about here, so don't base this off of any, don't think that this is something that is going to be helpful to you. I'm just learning here, but it seems to me, so what we want is see, we have to think about how we cut, because how the grain is oriented here. Now, this is what we want to see in our boards. We want to see the growth rings like that. That's what gives it that pretty look. If I was to flat saw these like that, then we would have, well, a very unattractive look, which is oftentimes what you see on 2x4s, which you don't get those grains. You just get the, well, I can see it right here. This is what it looks like. It looks like a sheet of plywood right there. Oh man, the sunshine, my nemesis. But you can see that there versus this here. So seems to me that our next, to take advantage of this, now we're coming into the widest part of the board. We've got right here, we've got this is the heartwood, the very center where the growth rings come in. We've got to make a decision here, and so what I think I'll do is we'll cut a big wide one out of this, because our growth rings, you know, they're changing. They're changing as we're cutting, and we have to change our cutting to take advantage of that. But look at that, that'll be a nice big piece. Wouldn't that be a nice live edge piece for a behind the couch table like I built? So let's do this. I can cut with this saw, I can cut a total of 10 inches. 10 by 10. And we have to cut, of course, we have to measure from the narrow end. We can cut a 10 by there. We can cut one solid piece across there. Okay, let's do that. So now we have to determine the thickness. What are we going to use this for? Do we want to cut an 8/4, which is just under 2 inches? Do we want to cut it a 1 inch? Use this, what do we want to use that? Let's cut, man, I don't know. I just don't know enough about this. Okay, so let's do this. I want to end up with 3/4 when it's all done, said and done, dried. This being such a wide piece is going to want to warp a little bit. So I'm going to cut this 1.25 inches, and then that'll give us plenty of room for replaning. So let's cut it 1.25 inches by 10 inches. Yep, you guessed it. I made a terrible mistake. I got all flustered. I had my mind thinking about measurements and all of that. I forgot to flip the blade. I went in. I looked down and there I had it. So I went ahead and finished cutting it. That's right. So we got a 1 by 3.5 1 1/4 by 3 1/2. That's okay. We'll use that for something else. So there's a lot to think about with this stuff, and I've never been taught. I don't really know how to do it. That's how you learn. You learn by experience, but that's okay. There's no we're learning here. We're learning, and won't make that. Hopefully, won't make that mistake again. But that's okay, because we'll still have we'll get a nice 1 by 6 or so right here. So let's finish cutting that, and then we'll reassess and try to do better next time. Well, I didn't get my 4/4 by, is that 4/4 inch? 4/4 by 10, but I did get my 4/4 by 8 3/4. So we got, we could have had 2 of them, but that's the way it goes there. Oh, you can see the bottom. I'm getting a little closer, starting to get away from that pretty grain, but the top looks nice. That still works. Yeah, isn't that neat? That's pretty. So now what do we get to do here? So I guess we could get a probably 3s, 1 by 2, 1 by 3 or so. There's not much. There's nothing left there. That's just bark and wane and stuff there. But yeah, well, I know that I'm not cutting this as efficiently the best way that there is to cut it. But you learn by doing. I mean that. I sometimes I hate to show this type of things. I have always tried to be really clear. I'm not a professional on this stuff. A lot of these things that I share with you that I'm just sharing, we're just learning together. And I hate to see people, that know what they're doing. You come in and really criticize and stuff. I mean, I would almost believe that they'd have you do nothing, rather than try to go out there and to do your best and learn. Who's going to teach you this stuff? How are you going to learn that, unless you just get out and start doing it? So if you mess up a few boards, or it doesn't yield quite as much as if someone that really knew what they were doing, who cares? I mean, I got the memories of it. I'll never forget finding that log and the thrill of it. It made me happy. and that's worth it. If a 10-foot log can make you happy for a day, then so be it. I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. Oh, we got a big time for showing what we got. Okay, so what we got so far is 1 by 4, 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 1 1/4 by 3. What's this one? 6, 7 by 1 1/4. We got the 1 1/4 by 8 3/4 there. And then whatever, I ran that one off there. We can get a 1 by 2 out of that. I'll leave that live edge, just cut that off on the table saw. And that's kind of what we got. So that's what's left of that log over there. Probably 22, 24 feet. All right, so I know we've got to be out of time now. So sorry the video went so long. If it did, I'm assuming it's going to be going long. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so we'll be back in the wood shop, finish up the Common Man's Toolkit toolbox. 1 or 2 more videos on that. I shouldn't say that. You never start going into story time. And then we'll get started on timber framing. So I have my neighbor, delightful young guy, Brian. They just moved into the homestead to the north. He's a carbon copy of me. He's a man after my own heart. He makes bows, he does woodworking, all the same interests. So he came over, and so what I did is I cut extra timbers for him too. And he's got an old chisel, a timber framing chisel. It's got a big nick in it. So he's going to bring that over, and we're going to timber frame. We're going to do some stuff together. So it's going to be like Charles Ingalls, and what was that episode where Charles Ingalls and his neighbor came over and said, "You help me build your house, and I'll help you build mine." Wouldn't that be nice if community was that way? That'd be so nice. All right, we'll see you guys on the next video.